It's Matt and Mercy Schlapp, and welcome to another episode of
Schlapp Down.
We're here on the couch to kind of do a counseling session with America about what the hell is going on in our society. And first up is this amazing video of, surprisingly, Joe Biden confused.
With his best friend, President Obama. Wow, Schlapp. I mean, let it go. I mean, I feel like I'm watching the movie Frozen, except that it's Joe Biden who's frozen.
That's pretty good. Actually, it looks like Barack Obama's trying to help Joe Biden, but that was really secretively a message for Michelle Obama for president, as he goes, "Here, old man, let me grab you by the wrist and like lead you off the stage like you're a pet."
I mean, he was literally... Biden was frozen in time, could not move. Very concerning. We've seen this time and time again with Joe Biden. I mean, what do you think is going through the minds of the Biden campaign staff?
Well, what's going through the minds of Joe Biden, is Hunter. I really do think that is really got him distracted. As far as the Biden...
I don't know, Schlapp. He was distracted by the audience, it seemed. Like he just got stuck there.
Look, we just have to know with the campaign team and with the White House team, this is nothing new.
Right.
Just a little bit worse. This will get worse every week, every month. It's a progressive problem. But look, this is how he ran for president. He ran for president getting juiced up for big moments and then talking to 11 people who were standing in a circle.
Can you admit he was doing better 4 years ago? I mean, yes, they did the basement campaign, but Biden, I think, you've seen the significant decline. But you make a good point. Republicans shouldn't even be talking about Biden's cognitive decline.
No, he's doing great. I love it. I think he looks strong. He looks good in that blue suit. He should
run, Biden, run.
He should do more of that biking thing he does without the falling over part. And look, I'm for Joe Biden running. I think it's great that he's showing that a senile man can win the presidency. I think this is great. We ought to leave him alone, and then we ought to beat him.
Speaking of which, we know that President Biden went over to Italy for the G7 summit. One of the opportunities he had was to meet Pope Francis. Let's take a look. I mean, Matthew, my favorite was a Babylon Bee that said, Biden disappointed after huge scoop of vanilla ice cream turns out to be Pope Francis.
I thought it looked like on the Pope's face. It was like, oh my God, he's making the move. Oh, it was a little bit weird.
I thought he was going to fall on top of the Pope. Bizarre, huh?
Well, I'm just very glad he didn't nibble his ear or blow in his ear or these other things.
The Pope's,
beret or whatever they call that thing, his kappa. But look, this is a problem. You know, there's two wars raging in this world, and the United States of America plays an outsized role in all of these questions of security around the globe, and that's the guy trying to lick the head of the pontiff who is running our country. So back to what you brought up previously, I think it's fine. I think Joe Biden looks vigorous. He looks good in his blue suit. And I think we ought to stop talking about his cognitive decline and emotional instability and just beat him in November.
But Schlapp, I mean, come on. I know you want to say, let's just not, ignore this. Let's move on. But I want to play just one more video from the G7 summit where you had Prime Minister Georgia Malone.
Don't make me.
Oh, please. You got to watch it because it's literally going from bad to worse.
What does Georgia Maloney do?
Let's watch. I mean, come on, let's go.
And playing the role of Dr. Jill Biden as the Prime Minister of Italy, which I thought she was very. I thought it was very gracious of her.
Yes.
She probably has a great grandfather, and she could tell she was well practiced at like. Come on.
Well, it's the Italians,
Viejo,
you know.
come on over here.
With the
Look, I think the best thing about that, they weren't like waiting for the trans flag to drop to the ground. I mean, you know, but, I don't know what it said on that flag, but.
But did you see all the other world leaders kind of looking over to Joe Biden, very concerned that he wasn't paying attention? And of course, then you know what happens is you had the Biden spokeswoman come out and from the campaign basically saying that's disinformation. I don't know what you people are talking about. He's doing great. He's making all these wonderful decisions. I mean, they are really trying to salvage this man, and I just don't know what to think, especially as we're going into the presidential debate, which is happening next week.
I think it's brilliant of the Trump campaign, which not sarcastically has run a phenomenal campaign. They clearly have somebody in each one of these crowds that gets Joe Biden's attention.
Right.
And he can't take his eyes off the person. I think they're flying that person around from event to event. And then Joe Biden sees him. You know who it is? I think it's Corn Pop.
It's Corn
Pop. They found Corn Pop. And Joe Biden's up there going, is that Corn Pop?
Is that Corn Pop?
And then he just gets it fixed in his glaze.
Anyways, I think we'll see how he does. How do you think he's going to perform in the debate?
Who, Corn Pop?
Is Corn Pop Biden?
No, you mean Biden.
Biden.
I think. Look, who knows? This is we're in uncharted territory. Joe Biden did better than expectations last time, mostly because Donald Trump really dominated him, and I'm hoping from I guess the people I talk to that the strategy is going to be kind of let Joe Biden talk. You know, the one thing about Joe Biden is the more he talks, the more he lies.
Oh, and the more he mumbles.
They like to say Trump is the one who lies, but really it's Biden the one who tells some real whoppers. And I like the fact that the debate is nice and early so people can get a good fresh look at their president. The one thing that's true is the more people realize Joe Biden's radicalism and his inability to kind of express himself, the better Trump does.
Well, one of the big issues that you're seeing the Biden campaign dealing with is the fact that their own coalition is falling apart. You have black voters leaving the party. I just saw these polls where in Pennsylvania and in Michigan, actually President Trump is gaining votes with black voters. And you've seen Biden basically down 22 points following from the 2020 election. One of the big issues, I think, also is going to be this issue of anti-Semitism. We know that it's something that we've been fighting here at CPAC for a long time, working closely with Julie Strauss-Levin and several other leaders in this area. Well, I want you to take a look at what happened in New York City in their subway system. Again, we know there's a lot of crime happening, but there's also a lot of Jew hate happening there.
Raise your hands if you're a Zionist. Raise your hand if you're a Zionist. Raise your hands if you're a Zionist. Raise your hand if you're a Zionist. This is your chance to get out. This is your chance to get out. Okay, no Zionists, we're good. Woo! No Zionists
here. You know, raise your hand if you're a Zionist. I think this is very scary, though, okay? Because the mere fact is they're using these fear tactics. These people had masks on their face. They had their heads covered. God only knows if someone would have raised their hand then what would have happened to that individual.
So we remember this during the Black Lives Matter violence that gripped our major cities, including Washington, D.C., just up the road here. And they would go to these outside eating establishments and make people put up their fists. And if they didn't, they would just scream at them and yell at them and, you know, put the fear of God into them. And that's exactly what was happening on the subway. Look, these tactics, we can roll our eyes at them and we can say, oh, this is radical and it won't work with the American people. These tactics are working because they're putting the fear in people all across this country that they can't speak up. It's why polling doesn't work anymore. It's why the news media, which is, by the way, the news media by and large has just attached itself to the idea that there are two sides in the battle against terrorism. There's the terrorists, there's lots of good people there, and there's the victims of the terrorists, and I guess there's some good people there too. And when
you're not saying that they're good people, you're saying the media.
I'm saying it's what the media is saying. It's
saying,
outrageous.
Yeah, the media is trying to get to say that
they said that Trump was a terrible person for saying that they were good people that have Confederate sentiment, and he was, you know, he didn't say that, but he was excoriated for that. They're basically borrowing that same language and saying, oh, there's plenty of really good terrorists.
Well, it's kind of like when we saw in Wisconsin, when the president was talking about Milwaukee, how horrible the crime was and the violence there, and then you had the media take it out of context, say that President Trump said that Milwaukee was horrible. Well, then that goes and becomes viral. Then the news organizations cover it, and they never fix it. And then you know what? The Democrats then run an ad against Donald Trump on that.
I think I'm going to get a big billboard and talk about all the things that when Donald Trump first said them, made you and I go, I don't know. And then over time, he was completely right. Build a wall?
Yeah.
Completely right. I had to get there in the beginning. I didn't really understand why we had to have all the money to build a wall. I get it now.
Yeah.
By the way, fake news, a lot of people cringed at that. Well, they're not all fake. They're trying to do their job. No, he was completely right. The news is on a collision course with freedom in this country, and they have picked the side of the Democratic Party and the socialists, and there might be a few exceptions, but it's not enough to matter.
Well, what matters now is we're seeing more and more people leave the state of California. We know that that state is becoming purely insane. Let's watch this video from fitness guru Jillian Michaels.
I grew up here. I'm a woman. I'm a gay woman. My mom's a Jew. My dad's an Arab. I have a black kid. And believe it or not, my son is half Latin, even though he doesn't look like it. I hold a million cards in your game of woke victimology poker. And when I leave California, maybe you've lost your mind. Just maybe.
So, I mean, Matt, that's most likely a liberal. I mean, I don't know what her politics are. I'm assuming she's a liberal. She's obviously describing all the identities that her and her family have, but she's had it. I mean, she's had it. And I think that, I mean, California has gone so far. It's why you've seen so many people leave that state. But the other thing is that the red states, they don't want the liberals coming into their backyards either. So what's your take on what's happening there?
Well, there's a couple of demographic things that are really interesting. First of all, the people who love America are the ones having kids. The Christians are having kids. The Jews are having kids. You know, these single people that like hate the idea of giving yourself to somebody in marriage, they're not having kids. And the other thing is that people are fleeing the blue jurisdictions. Like, if you had to say one poll that shows you what people think of communism and socialism, it is the fact that America is self-sorting along red and blue. I don't run into anybody that says, you know where I really want to live? Chaz.
Yeah, exactly.
No one's like, that sounds cool. I want to live outside the Portland courthouse building. People are fleeing those jurisdictions. And the thing is, even liberals are fleeing those jurisdictions because of crime. And the red state people are so worried about the blue state people coming in. Oh, they're going to bring their left-wing politics. But you have to ask yourself, if someone from a blue state is fleeing that state because of taxes, regulation, the legal system which is gone, and crime,
and getting rid of parental rights, because in California they just passed in the Senate
on the trans stuff,
which is pretty much like you don't have to notify the parent if your child is you know, changing genders. I mean, it's pure insanity. We're seeing in Michigan that you would be fined at least $5,000 if you misuse a pronoun. I mean, this is how far the woke radicalism will go.
That's why we're going to win in Michigan, one of the reasons. But you know, you think about this old trope, which is all the liberals, the leftists, they just want to live their life, and they want you to live your life, and they're just very progressive, and they think anything goes morally. And what you realize is that's probably the biggest lie that's ever been told.
Right.
They want to be a nanny over you on everything, every decision you make, every pronoun you use, everything you do. They want to be there to hector you and nag you and convince you to do it their way. And they've lost, I really agree with this Jillian woman, they've lost the audience on this one. Mm-hmm. And it's one of the things that I thought was going to happen earlier in the country, that I thought the war on cops would make everyone wake up, but it took a few years for people to see the rot in these cities and these communities. I really think at this point the American people have woken up. This is not, you can't harmonize what they're doing in California with the concept of America.
No. Not at all. Talking about nagging woman, Nancy Pelosi. Let's take a look.
Is she still around?
She's never gone.
So if we're going to do psychoanalysis of them, I think we have to have them in person in front of some healthcare professionals. But I do wish there would be an intervention from his family, assuming they love him beyond the resources, assuming that they love him, that they would intervene, that the Republican Party would have an intervention. They have become a cult to a thug. And that is really a tragedy for the grand old party and what they were.
So for the grand old lady, I thought she was talking about Joe Biden when they were saying we need to have an intervention. What was your take?
Grand old lady. How about mean old lady? The fact is, hey, Nancy, I got a message for you. It's not a cult when black voters are streaming over to our side, like at the beginning of the Republican Party, when Hispanic voters are streaming over to our side, when a majority of people not born in America are supporting Donald Trump in these polls, when young voters are moving over to Donald Trump. I don't think that's a cult. I think that's a trend. And finally, great old lady, or whatever we call her, why is everybody leaving California? Maybe it's not working.
Yeah.
And it probably works for you because you're now worth almost $1 billion because you got rich while you were in office, like a lot of other people. So I'd say to Nancy Pelosi, I think you should get booked more on MSNBC. I think it's a good thing. We'll get some good clicks out of it.
And I think between her and Biden, they should get psychoanalyzed. That's my take. Anyways, that's Schlapp Down for this week. Schlapp, any final thoughts?
How you doing?
It's going to be a long 5 months, but we're ready for it, and we hope you keep joining us and keep amplifying our message and what we're doing at CPAC. We're not only here to stop the globalist and the communist here in America, we are focused on stopping this globalist Marxist movement across the globe, and lots going on internationally as well as here in the work that we're doing. So stay with us. Go to cpac.org and share this with your friends. Take care. God bless.